but I'm sure more people might come on in there. Hello and welcome. Really excited to have you here. This is the Digital Skills for Libraries session held by the Digital Culture Network, and we're really hoping this is going to be the first of many webinar sessions really just targeted at libraries. So this is our first foray into it, and hopefully you're going to find this session useful today. And today we're going to be covering creating and delivering digital content. So hopefully you're all in the right place. Okay, so just before we get going, I just want to do some really quick housekeeping here for you. So if you do have any technical issues whatsoever, if you can't hear or things are freezing or any sort of issues, please do reach out in the chat. I'll be managing that today. So if there's any issues whatsoever, please do reach out and I'll try and solve them as best I can to make sure that you can hear and experience today's content. We will be having a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you do have any questions for our panelists, then please use the Q&A feature to ask those questions, and we'll do our absolute best to get round to all of them towards the end. If we can't get around to every question, we will make sure things are included in our follow-up resources. So if we don't get to ask your question in today's session, don't worry, we'll try our best to get that answered in the follow-up information that is sent out to you. Please try and use the Q&A feature, because if it goes in the chat, I might lose it and I might not be able to ask. So please use the Q&A feature there for me. The most important thing is that this whole entire webinar is going to be recorded. So you're going to receive a full recording of this webinar. You're going to receive all the presentation slides from all the panelists today, and any resources link, any sort of links to equipment, to platforms, to technology. We're going to send all that out afterwards. So please don't stress about trying to make notes or trying to remember bits of information. We're going to be sending all that out to you next week. So please just sit and relax and just enjoy the content that's on show for you today. So that's the boring bit out of the way. So hello, my name is Nick, and I will be your host and your moderator for today's session. And I'm shortly going to be passing you over to my colleagues James and Dean, who are going to be leading on the content that you're going to see today. We are the Digital Culture Network, and as we've seen over the last year in 2020, we've seen a massive shift in organisations from all sectors having to pivot their services and their communication methods purely to digital. And for some, this has been a really incredibly daunting prospect. However, having said that, we've seen some amazing work from libraries and from other arts and culture organisations of just teams getting absolutely stuck in and trying new ways of working, trying new methods of delivery, and still trying to reach audiences, reach visitors. And that's been absolutely amazing for us to see that across the sector in 2020. Today's session, we're going to be focusing all about creating and delivering digital content. Now, some of you that may be watching today, you may be fairly comfortable with these sort of topics. Maybe you're quite advanced in some of these areas. Maybe you've been creating digital content. You've been sort of working quite digitally for some time, so you might feel quite comfortable. Some of you out there, you might be thinking, right, well, this year we really had to just kind of try our best and try new ways of working, and we've done some Facebook Lives or we've done some kind of Zoom classes, but we don't feel overly confident. Or some of you, you may have never even touched any of this stuff. Maybe you've never created any sort of digital content and you've never done any of this. And this is really just the start of you exploring this sort of topic. Well, hopefully today's session, no matter where you are on that scale, hopefully we're going to provide you with lots of useful information, how you can sort of continue on that journey, wherever your starting place is. So before I pass over to James and Dean, who's going to get into the bulk of the content today, I just wanted to give you a very, very quick introduction to the Digital Culture Network, who we are and how we can help support your library organisation to work more digitally. So we are the Digital Culture Network. We help support the sector to harness the benefits of technology and achieve digital ambitions. So how do we do that? We provide practical support and training, and that's really the core of what we do. We're here to try and provide arts and culture organisations with fixes, quick tips, practical information that you can go away and implement within your team and really make visible change and immediate change. And that's hopefully what we're trying to do. We also broker partnerships with the tech sector. So we know how impenetrable that might seem. There's loads of tech out there. So how much does it cost? How can we use it? What's best for our organization? What's best for the type of work that we're doing? So we're trying to keep our fingers on the pulse of what's going on within the technology sector and try and point you in the right direction when choosing new bits of kit or choosing new platforms. So we're here to try and guide you through that minefield, really, of trying to pick what sort of tech is best to use. And most importantly, the sector as a whole is doing absolutely fantastic work digitally. And it's just about us highlighting those stories and saying, hey, look at what these guys are doing, because they're achieving something fantastic and this is how they did it. So we love to hear your stories. We love to hear what you're doing digitally within your business practices. And if you'd like to share that story with us, then please do reach out, and I'm going to give you some contact information in order for you to be able to do that. In this first year, we've only been around about a year and a half, and within this first year, we've been incredibly busy. So before lockdown, we were holding lots of in-person workshops, so a bit similar to what we're doing today, but we would do that in person. We've had over around 660 attendees for those in our first year, which was really amazing. Since lockdown, we've transferred everything to webinars. We've had about over 1,000 webinar attendees, and that's not including the library session today, and we've got quite a lovely number on here today. So we'll be adding that to the total. And our core work that we do is actually we have one-to-one support cases with arts and culture organisations. We've had about 1,000 of those since we first started, and we've reached 700 organisations and individual artists. If you're an arts and cultural organisation, that's libraries, museums, theatres, art centres, etc., then you are eligible for free one-to-one support with our team, with our tech champions. As part of the registration process, you might have seen there was a box to tick if you would like to be contacted by a tech champion for support. We'll be getting in touch with those people in the next week or so. But if you didn't select yes, then that's absolutely fine. You can still reach out to us. I'm going to let you know how you can do that and access our tech champions for some one-to-one support. Okay, so I mentioned tech champions there. That's who I am, that's who James and Dean is. And we've got a team here of tech champions who've all come from a wealth of different digital backgrounds. And so we've brought us all together to create this little hive mind of digital expertise that we can hopefully pass on and share some knowledge and experience with the sector. And we do this via a number of ways. So I've mentioned it before, we do the one-to-one support sessions. So people come to us, either they've got a specific challenge or a specific thing in mind that they're wanting to kind of overcome, or a specific advice that they need on a particular project. Or you might just come to us going, actually, we're not sure what we need. We kind of basically just want to have a review of all of our digital output. What are we doing? Where's best to go? How can we achieve these sort of goals? So you can either come to us in two of those fashions, and we can do a bit of a one-to-one support session with you. We do group training sessions, so we might get like-minded organisations together, much like what we're doing today. We're sort of targeting this towards libraries and getting you all together to learn a topic. We might do open workshops, open webinars, which are just about a specific topic, but allows lots of different organisations to come together. And we also produce lots of knowledge articles and information sheets. So that's basically like common topics that we're seeing out in the sector at the moment. We'll write an article up and we'll link to further resources and guides. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually access support with us. So I'm just going to introduce you to the tech champions, to the team, so you can find out a bit about our expertise and what we know about. So first on the list, we've got Dean. Dean is our digital content tech champion, and you're going to be hearing from Dean next. He can really help you with creating dynamic and engaging content for your audiences. And he's really very knowledgeable about all the different types of equipment that you could use, platforms that you could use to live stream, lots of useful information there about how you might create really good and engaging content. You're going to learn lots of great information from him in a short while. Next, we've got Emma. So Emma is our e-commerce tech champion. And she's fantastic, got a fantastic wealth of knowledge about creating really great, strong online user journeys that really help drive sales. So if you've got an online shop or you're selling things, selling archives, prints, things like that on your website, then Emma's got fantastic knowledge about how best to create those sales journeys and also what platforms to use. Next, we've got Nick. I'm the tech champion for ticketing and for customer relationship management. So I've got lots of kind of experience in how to implement ticketing operations, what sort of best ticketing software that you can use, and how that really makes it simple for your customers to book onto events. And also I've got knowledge in what sort of customer relationship management systems that you can use, and that will really help you get to know your visitors better and your audiences better, and so you can best market to them. So if that sort of interests you, then you can get in touch with me for further support on that. Next on the list, we've got Hayden. Now, Hayden is our social media tech champion. So he's got absolutely fantastic wealth of experience looking at what social media channels to use and when, and what type of content works well on certain channels, thinking about how you can strategize and get more content out on social without it being a bit of a rush, and how really, most importantly, and especially for libraries, is how to maintain those great communities that you have of your users and people that use your services. So how best to use social media in that way. That's Hayden. We've got Peggy, who is our email marketing tech champion. So I think especially now, during these sort of times, then the communication with our visitors and our audiences is really key. And email is a fantastic way to do that, letting them know about your service updates, when you're open, when you're closed, all of that kind of really key information that you need your visitors to know. And Peggy's great at helping people develop those really strong communication strategies, and again, what sort of platforms work best with that. Next, we've got James. So you'll be hearing from James today as well. Usually, he will be talking to you all about data and analytics, but today he's going to be sidestepping slightly and giving you information on how to run successful online events. But James really is an absolute data nerd. He won't mind me telling you that. And if you ever sort of wanted more information on Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, and how you can use all the kind of like pockets of data you're collecting through websites and through your channels, how to make better and smarter, more informed decisions for future marketing, then he's your guy to get in touch with. Next, we've got Roberta, who's also posing for her L'Oreal hair advert here. Roberta is our website's tech champion. Absolute buckets of knowledge of how to build websites, how to redesign websites, platforms to use, people you can hire to help you out with these sorts of projects. She's got a fantastic wealth of knowledge in order to be able to help you with that. Also, more importantly, actually looking at website content strategy. So looking at what type of content is going to work best online to really be able to communicate what I need to with our audiences. So Roberta is very great at that sort of information. Next, we've got Saeed. So Saeed is our search engine optimization and paid for marketing tech champion. So if you've ever wondered, how can I get my website to appear better in sort of Google rankings if people are searching, or if you've ever searched for something in Google and you can see a little ad at the top and people have paid for those to be there. So there's lots of really great techniques and strategies you can do to help certain things, projects, events that you might be running to appear better in those searches. Might not necessarily just be your website, because we know that a lot of libraries will be attached to a council's website or anything like that, but maybe if you're creating event pages or something like that online, how to get those to appear better in Google searches. And then last on the list is Mark. So Mark is our all-rounder. He's just got fantastic experience within sort of digital marketing and digital strategy in general. So he's really great at helping you really define what your ambitions are and how you want to work, what sort of goals you might want to set, and then really being able to help you create a really specific timeline about how you're going to achieve some of those things and by when. So this is our lot. This is our group of tech champions. So as I said, if there's anything that really jumps out to you there, and as a library organization, you're really wanting to access some further information on some of those topics, then you can get in touch with us, and I'm going to let you know how you can access that support. So the main way to get in touch with us and hear what we're doing is via our website, and that's digitalculturenetwork.org.uk. So the two main ways you can do that there are by going on that website, and we've got an Ask a Tech Champion button in the top menu, and that's where you can put in request and speak to us. And again, you can target someone specifically, or you'll allow us to assign you the most appropriate tech champion for your needs. And as I mentioned, we've got absolutely tons of knowledge articles there on lots of different subjects. We've got some on podcasting, engaging people with social media, all of those topics that we're seeing out in the sector that people are interested in. So you can go on and search for different articles there. And we've actually got a full webinar bank. So all of our webinars that we've been putting on over the last year, we've got them recorded and they're housed on our website as well. So you can head to the Knowledge Hub on digitalculturenetwork.org.uk, and you can find all of our previous webinar recordings and learn from some of the past things we've done there. Fantastic ones on Google Analytics for beginners, search engine optimization, and email marketing, which we did last week. So just in case you missed that, that was digitalculturenetwork.org.uk. We would really love to hear from you. So please do get on the website and get in touch if you'd like some further support. Lovely, that's me. That's the introduction done for you today. So hopefully that gives you a bit of information about who we are and what we do. So what I'm going to do now is pass you over to Dean. Dean, as I said, is our digital content tech champion, and he's going to be speaking to you today about how to create effective and strong digital content on your mobile phones and other devices. So over to you, Dean.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Brilliant. So many people on, which is fantastic. So yes, thank you very much, Nick, for sort of introducing us as the content tech champion. As the last sort of 6 or 9 months, I've done every kind of weird and wonderful content, from people interested in live streaming to mobile phone filmmaking. There's been so many different sort of approaches that people have taken during this incredibly difficult time. So what I'm going to try and do today is just give sort of an idea as to what options we've got out there. And I'm going to start by using something simple like the phone we have in our pocket, the mobile phone, which generally for most people is a smartphone, which can capture some really pleasing images. So firstly, sort of my sort of default is always to sort of video, and we're going to ask the sort of question as to should I use video? Is video ideal for you? There's certain sort of resources and time it takes to get to know video and how to edit it properly and to really make the best of it. So sometimes we can be put off by the amount of sort of steep learning curve that it can take, but taking that to one side, let me show you sort of how you can tackle that. But firstly, why do we think we should use video? Well, for me, I've always found that video is much better for grabbing an audience's attention, particularly on social media. Places like Instagram and Facebook have lent more towards video these days because it enables people to stay on their sites for longer. Obviously, YouTube is nothing but video. And from there, you can see that we can sort of shape stories and sort of bring conversations to different audiences and have them sort of engage with that as well. So in terms of grabbing audiences' attention, if they say a picture speaks 1,000 words, then video surely must be doing even greater numbers. So for me, it's always great for sort of putting out there, whenever I've compared a photo or a text post to say video, it's always been sort of 10 times more engagement, 10 times more popular. So so that's one of the reasons why I always sort of look towards videos being sort of like the pinnacle of online content. In many cases, video is easy to make search engine optimized. So for instance, on YouTube, you've got the ability to not only describe the video with thousands and thousands of characters, but you can also do a description as well, so a title as well, which can be full of keywords, making it easy for YouTube to know what the video is about and to make sure it gets seen by the right people. So if you were searching for, say, a book review or a piece about a particular author, then all of those juicy keywords that you'd put in your title and in the description would help that video be discovered. And it's exactly the same with Instagram as well. You can obviously add so much more sort of hashtags in the description. It just makes the search elements of these social media sites easy for them to discover your video and to serve them to the right people that are searching for it. I think video helps build trust with audiences, where you maybe in the past would have wrote a blog post, getting in front of a camera, talking about something that's really you're really passionate about, is one of the things that that more people are sort of like leaning towards. You've still got to put the hard work in. You've still got to work out what exactly you're going to say. But with video, people can see you. They can understand probably where you're coming from a little bit better. I believe it kind of really sort of shapes your audience. And you kind of like, you define yourself with that. So video, I believe, builds a huge amount of trust with the audience. Obviously nowadays mobile phones are getting massive. The internet connection is gone from 4G, it'll soon be 5G in most places eventually. So therefore video streaming is no longer a problem. You know, most people don't have issues with data, and the devices are really sort of keyed up for that. And there's certainly sort of more mobile phone users are really sort of at the top of all of the analytics. When you look at sort of YouTube, the amount of people that are consuming content on mobile devices is significantly higher than that of desktops as well. So, you know, not only is it great for capturing device, it's great as a capturing device, but also most people, according to all of the analytics I've ever looked at, it's always been mobile phone users that have been the biggest audience out there as well. So what kind of options have we got out there for creating content, particularly in a library sort of setting? Now, prior to doing this webinar, I had a really good search around at various different sort of book reviews, author reviews, just conversations about literature and all of the sort of like little niche audiences that are out there, you know, whether it's horror, whether it's fantasy, all these different genres out there. And there's some things that I noticed kept coming back time and time again, which was the audiences were really incredibly engaged in this. So the person would put out the video, they'd tag it beautifully, they'd describe it wonderfully, have a nice clear thumbnail and a great description and title of their video. And when you see the amount of content, comments, particularly on YouTube, you know, it was quite incredible, really. Even when you've got videos which were more like, this was a terrible book, you had too many plot twists, blah blah blah, there's still a healthy amount of engagement there. And it got me thinking as to what other videos could you be producing out there, you know, because some of these channels are not just got a couple of hundred views or 1,000 views, some of them have got tens of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views. And essentially it's a camera plonked in front of the presenter, decent audio, and they're talking about something they love, which happens to be a book that they've read or an author that they love. And it really got me thinking as to how would I, with something as very simple as the phone in my pocket, create that kind of content. So the types of videos that we can be shooting on a smartphone, you always get these sort of age-old vertical versus horizontal. We're used to holding our phones up. Get my phone. We're used to holding our phones like this when we're talking, and most of the time when we're taking photos as well. But that's sometimes not the best mode, if you like, for capturing video. If it's going to go on something like YouTube, then ideally it has to be horizontal. That's mostly what the platform's set up. If you don't do it horizontally and you do it vertically, you get these blurred out edges down the side, which doesn't look very nice. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're doing something smaller form, such as like an Instagram story, where you're just saying, you know, check out this wonderful new author. This is their first novel. It's absolutely fantastic. And you're literally just doing a very quick and easy video for something like Instagram stories or a Facebook feed, then you'd want to shoot it vertical. And I suppose what I'm trying to say is that kind of have an idea of where your video is going to go. Where is it going to ultimately end up? Is it going to go on YouTube? Then if so, shoot it horizontally. If it's going to go on YouTube and on Instagram stories or something like that, you're probably better off just shooting it horizontally, but bearing in mind that you might need to crop in when you come to the editing. And I'll explain, there's apps out there that can do that as well. So it's kind of like sort of having that pre-planning phase. And that goes with all video content. The last thing you want to do is sit down in front of a camera and just sort of try and do your best. It's kind of an idea to sort of structure it, because you won't be happy with what you've got, and you'll end up having twice as much editing as you would do normally. So where possible, try and plan it out. Do a script if necessary, and try and sort of structure it so that you know exactly how it's going to flow. So when it comes to editing, it's much easier. Bearing in mind where it's going to ultimately end up, and if it's going to end up on Instagram as well as YouTube, shoot it horizontally, but bear in mind that when you crop in, you're going to lose a little bit of depth. So maybe shoot it a little bit further back. But with most of these things, it all boils down to sort of practice. But despite sort of all of this, the main question is that you could sit down in front of your phone and shoot wonderful content. And then when you upload it, you think, well, I'm quite pleased with that. But for some reason, it's just not really engaging. It's not hitting the spot. And it's difficult to know why. And you can think, well, maybe it's my background. Maybe I should get some more LED lights, or maybe I should have a better intro or something like that. And sometimes it can be quite simple that it's not that at all. It's more the structure of the video. And for somebody who consumes a lot of YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram content for my job, you do find that the more successful the videos, they all sort of like follow this kind of structure, which is they start off with the intro. So say it's on YouTube, or say it's on Facebook, or Instagram for that matter. They all start off with like a kind of a question. All the most successful ones start with this kind of who, why, what, and where. So who is the greatest fantasy novel writer of all time? Is it blah, 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 so and so and so, da, da, da. In this video, we're going to discuss that. You get into a nice little bit of branding, maybe some graphics that you've got maybe knocked up on something like Fiverr for a few pounds, or just simply just cut straight to it. Then they cut to like a recap, which is, have you ever wondered why so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so has been hailed as the greatest blah, blah, blah of all time? Well, so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And all that does is that kind of makes sure that the audience feel like they're in a safe pair of hands, because they've seen your thumbnail. Hopefully your thumbnail's beautiful and it's clear. Your title of your video is basically describing exactly what they'll find. In the description, once again, there'll be more wonderful sort of like details about it. But people don't go to YouTube or Instagram or Facebook to watch a video and read about it. They want to click into the video. So it's really important in the first 20, 30, 40 seconds to just explain what your video is about in the very first instance. And to make sure that they know that this is what that video is going to be about. Because unfortunately, over the course of the sort of last 5 years or so, people's sort of tolerances have got even shorter. So you'll find that they'll get into the video, and unless it gets to the point quite quickly, they'll bounce straight out. And nothing can harm your credibility within the YouTube and Facebook and Instagram algorithms more so than somebody coming in and bouncing straight out after 10 seconds because they're like, oh, do you know what? This isn't what I signed up for. This isn't the video I thought it was going to be. I'm going to move on to somewhere else. So go back, sort of do your big intro, open it out, have you ever wondered why blah, blah, blah was so. In this video, we're going to discuss exactly that. And then a little bit of branding. Then after that, you recap with what they're there for, move on to the body of content, get to the meat of it while you're there, discuss all of the sort of different sort of aspects of it, keep it sort of concise and measured. And then before you know it, you're already into the territory of the conclusion. So it's like, let me know your opinion. Is Ian Fleming all he cracked up to be? Is da-da-da the best it could have been? Which is your Harry Potter favorite book? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is that you're talking about, no matter who your audience is, whether they're sort of, whether they're younger children or whether they're older, seasoned readers who consume hundreds and hundreds of books a year, ask them to sort of comment. Love to hear from them. If you've liked what you've seen, don't forget to like this video. It really means a lot to us. We'd love to hear what you're reading at the moment. So pop that in the comments below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. And we'll see you again in the next video. And if you repeat the whole process, what will happen is people will know that you are a safe pair of hands, an authority within the space where you can really get on board with it. You can enjoy the content, and you can sort of like, bring other people in, other opinions. Maybe you can also do like a Zoom where you can interview people in different parts of the world. You can really start to get clever and bring other people in. But in the first instance, just you sitting in front of the camera, if you keep to this kind of structure. And then when I think of like a YouTube video around sort of like kind of any kind of book review or speaking about an author or any kind of subject like that, typically the best of the videos are around about 8 to 12 minutes long. That seems to be the point where most people accept that that's sort of a decent length. once you get past the halfway point, you're pretty much in a really good place in terms of the algorithm. So on YouTube, 8 to 12 minutes. When it comes to something like Instagram, for some reason, people don't really get on board with anything longer than 4 minutes, all of the stats I've seen. So bear that in mind. The different platforms, depending on where your strengths lie, you know, you might have a bigger audience on Instagram and you might want to try some things out. Something like IGTV, which is Instagram's TV, it will start off with a small sort of preview that lasts about a minute or so, and then you can then watch the remainder in IGTV. Typically, most people don't go past the 4-minute mark. If you're obviously doing Instagram stories, it's going to be much shorter, much more condensed, and really to the point. So you can say, look, I've checked out this new book that's just come in, or I've just heard about this fantastic author. Everybody's talking about it. I don't know what the fuss is about, blah, blah, blah. You know, you can be a bit controversial and keep it concise and fun. But when it comes to the sort of the YouTube sort of videos, you know, 8 to 12 minutes is sort of the ideal length as well. So kind of bear that in mind when you're putting your sort of your structure together. You know, start off strong, get to those titles, recap so that everyone knows safely why they're there. Yes, this is definitely the video for me. Get to the meat of it. What are we talking about? The body of content. And before you know it, you're wrapping it all up with a wonderful conclusion. And then you're asking them to like, comment, and subscribe. And that's exactly what all of the greats are doing. The ones who are getting thousands and thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views. And to be honest, they're no better or worse than any of us. They've just hit the nail on the head, and they've realized what it takes to sort of keep repeating that success. So that's the structure, very much so. But a lot of the time, you've got an idea of what you want to achieve. You think, right, I've got this idea. I want to produce it this kind of way. And then you think, well, I can structure it like this, but is my phone any good? Is it, you know, I've got an iPhone 7 or I've got a Samsung, blah, blah, blah. Is it good enough? And in most cases, it really is. It really is. You might need a few sort of additional pieces just to sort of make it even that much better. And this is what we're going to look at just now. So right here in the middle of the screen is you can barely make out the phone, but the highlighted part, the black part, is a phone cage. And what this does is it kind of makes your phone a little bit easier to hold. I mean, I've got 3 phones on my table now. I've got an iPhone 7, which is quite small. So if I was trying to put that on a tripod or mount it on a table, I'd probably have to rest it against a book, and then I've got every risk of it falling over. So where possible, put it in something like a cage. Now, this little cage I got off of Amazon. I think it was under £20, and it's got lots of little mounting points for lights, for an additional microphone. As I say, it can be tripod mounted as well. So if you really want that sort of locked off, steady shot where you're just talking straight down the lens to your audience, this is the best place to start. And what it does is it frees up the whole need to hold it as well. Equally speaking, if you find yourself getting quite adventurous and you want to do some sort of groovy, what we call B-roll, which is maybe some shots of you turning the pages and maybe some print on the print on the pages, and you want to sort of like introduce the book like that, or you want to do some nice cutaways to the location or wherever. It's much easier to hold the cage than it is to hold the phone. You've got 2 nice grips there, which you can really do some smooth panning shots. So that's the first thing that I would always say, check out. And there you go. There's a picture of a pair of hands holding the cage, along with a light. I don't know about you at the moment, but if I was to switch off my office light here, which I've got, you'll see how dark it is. So I've got a light just like the one mounted on top of there, and it's really important. You know, people they kind of expect to see you, particularly if you're going to be sitting there for 10 minutes. So you might need to get yourself some cheap lights. Something like that runs off of batteries, can be had from anything from 20 to 40, £100, depending on what you want to do with it. It doesn't have to be expensive, just sort of simple, like the one I've got now, which I just turned off. I think it was about £35, once again, from Amazon. There's the thing I could get my hands on the most straight after lockdown. So then you got on the left-hand side of the screen, you've got a microphone. Now, the microphone in your phone is ideal for making phone calls. It's ideal for doing voice memos. But if you're going to be a bit further away and you want to avoid any kind of background noise, maybe you're not in the best of locations, maybe some, you're sharing a house with somebody else, or the building's got noisy air conditioning, then something like a directional microphone will cut out the majority of that noise and just focus on you and what's coming out of your mouth. So I would sort of look at getting one of those, and you can have things which are a bit smaller than that. I've got one here, and once again, we'll put all the links to the equipment I mentioned, but you can plug this little microphone in to your phone, and it's just I think I would say doubles the performance of the video, makes it just a little bit better than if you're just trying to sort of use your normal phone in there, certainly for background noise as well. And then, of course, going back to our whole vertical versus horizontal, thankfully, the makers of the cage have thought about this, and they've made it so that you can actually mount it horizontally or vertically. So whether you're shooting for Facebook and Instagram, or whether you're shooting for YouTube, they've got you covered on that. And once again, it's got mounting points all over it, so you can add the little accessories. So with your existing phone, you could probably get away with spending as little as £50 to get it to a nice broadcastable quality. Where there are people on there who are enjoying thousands and thousands of views, and it's the exact same setup. And obviously, once you've proven that you've got good proof of concept and you've got an audience, you can then make the claim for investing a little bit more in a better camera and a better microphone. But when you're first getting started and you want to learn a little bit more about the craft, this is probably the best way of doing so that I found, certainly. And it's what I use whenever I'm in a pinch and I'm out, back in the real world. It's exactly what I would use. I'd just put the cage on and simply just start filming there. But one thing that I will say is that people will tolerate dodgy-ish image. So if it's not 4K and it's a little bit sort of pixelated and the lighting's not quite right, it's okay. They'll accept that if the content is good and if you structure it nicely, but they won't tolerate bad sound. So that's something that can be quite easily remedied with something like this here. Now this, I think I've got the dual version. So I've got actually two lavalier microphones. You see them on TV all the time. They're clipped to the clothing, close to the mouth, so you've not got any sort of interference with background noise. I've actually got the one with two microphones, so therefore I can interview two people effectively, and it goes straight into the phone. Great if you're having a conversation with somebody about a novel or an author. And I think that cost about £12 or £18. And it's incredible quality, really. It really is. So if all you're going to do is spend less than £20, get yourself that microphone. Don't worry about the cage. Don't worry about the light. Don't worry about the tripod. Just get yourself that microphone and a bit of sticky back plastic and hold the phone up. It's all you have to do to get started. So we get to a point now where we think, well, okay, we've got it all structured out. We've got our videos made. Now what do I do with them? How do I edit them? Well, there's a couple of apps that I've used. Now I've got two types of phone, an Android phone and a Apple iPhone. Now the Apple phone comes with iMovie, so that's very similar to this. But if you haven't got an Apple phone, you're using an Android, I use this app called InShot. And as you can see, InShot basically has all of your videos in your camera roll, which you can easily select just pressing a couple of buttons. You can then load them into what's called the timeline, and using just your finger, you can literally adjust that timeline, maybe cut out some mistakes. If you're doing a straight piece to camera, you might find that you've got about 20 mistakes where you maybe lose your train of thought, make some mistakes, or somebody interrupts you, you have a delivery, whatever it is, you might need to cut those out. And this is ideal for doing it. I would caveat that probably you don't want to be editing 10 minutes worth of YouTube video on it. Where possible, I'd switch that over to a desktop. But in terms of getting yourself started and to work out what your structure of your videos can look like and how you can manipulate them and do all kinds of weird and wonderful sort of story changes within that edit, this is a really good place to start. Now, InShot is free. It does come with a watermark. But if you want to get rid of the watermark, you simply, I think it's about $9.99, I believe. I think that was the last time when I paid for it. Maybe it was in March. It may well have gone up. But as you can see, if you want to drop some titles in there, if you forget what your name is, you can put them on there. and it's just incredibly simple to get started with, and it's really easy to sort of play with. And you don't have to start with your fully functional video. You can just start with what videos you've got on there at the moment. I always believe that you become a better filmmaker through learning how to edit. So where possible, try your best to get as good as you can with the editing. And things are becoming so much easier. When I started 10 or 15 years ago, the editing software wasn't very, very high tech, and you certainly have to do a lot of manual stuff. A lot of it now is quite automated, and you don't really need to sort of like worry about all of the details. I find, if you're using a Mac, then iMovie that comes built in with a Mac is fantastic. If you're looking for a free piece of software for your desktop, then Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve is a free download. It's not too difficult to get started, and it has a cut button, which is quite easy to get started. And that works on PCs and Macs as well. So there are some options out there. As you can see from what I'm doing here with the video, I'm actually making it look worse. The one thing I'd say to you is, yes, you can add filters to your footage, but in many cases, you're just going to make it look worse. So bear that in mind. I'm going to cut to the end part where I show you just how easy it is to save. So you basically save the footage up here on the right-hand side, and then it takes a few seconds to save that. And then you've got from there the ability to upload it straight to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you choose to do so. And at the beginning of the video, you actually choose how you want the video to look. So whether you shot it vertically and it's destined for Instagram, or whether you shot it horizontally and it's destined for YouTube, you can do so there. So it's quite a powerful tool. There are others out there, but that's the one that I've been using quite a bit now, particularly with my Samsung phone. Obviously, I've spoken a lot about sort of video, but not everybody wants to go on camera. I can appreciate that. And a lot of people go, well, I've got a smartphone. Is there any alternatives to doing video if I don't want to go on camera? And I'd probably say the easiest to recommend is probably a podcast. Hopefully very soon we'll all be traveling backwards and forwards to work, going to gyms, needing to switch off from the outside world. And I always found there was nothing better than a podcast. My commute used to be 45 minutes, and the podcast thankfully lasted 45 minutes. So it was fantastic. So, something you don't have to spend as much as this. This here is probably one of the more expensive options. It's from a company called Rode, and it enables you to use it on a mobile phone, an Apple phone, using the Lightning adapter. It can interview up to 2 people, and it can also have a headphone jack, so you can monitor it. So sometimes when you're recording things, you fail to notice like the pneumatic drill in the background or things like that. So this is really good for doing that. So from there, that means that you can just simply record straight to your notes. And there are some fantastic videos already out there on how to create a podcast using your smartphone, which I will include in my video, in my link, in my emails. And then from there, I found that something like Anchor, which kind of does all the work for you, really. So it's, they are kind of like an aggregator for sort of like all of the different sort of platforms out there. So you'd have to sit and think, oh God, I need to put it on Spotify, and I need to put it on iTunes, and so on and so forth. I found that this one's quite good. There are other ones out there, but this one is the one that I've seen to see more people have more success from. So once again, there'll be a little bit of a description about that. Check them out. Once again, if it's for you, then fill your boots and have fun with it. But if you think, oh, I'm not quite ready for it, then maybe there's some other options. Book a one-to-one with me and we can explore the options together. But podcasts for me is just a great way of sort of communicating with your audience without worrying about the whole background and is the camera in focus and things like that. You can literally just find a quiet corner, speak about something that you're really passionate about, maybe even bring somebody else in to interview, and do something that's quite engaging, and you'll get to understand your sort of audience and start to develop a sort of a program around what they find interesting and engaging. So that is that. If you've got any questions, now would be a great time, or we can leave them to the end. It's up to you, Nick. What do you think?
We've got a lovely build-up of questions and lots of information coming on through there, but we'll go to them at the end of today's session. Thank you
Excellent.
so much for that, Dean. Lots of really useful information there, and as Dean said, he will be including a bit of a shopping list about different equipment that you can use and any platforms that he's mentioned there. So don't worry at all. We'll make sure to send those over to you to have a look. There. So we know we're running quite close to 3 o'clock, so please do bear with us. But if you do need to dart off at 3, as I said, please don't worry. The session will be recorded to be able to watch the later bit, but please do stick with us as we move on to the next topic. So I'm going to be bringing in James now, and he's going to be giving you lots of tips and tricks in how to use online platforms to deliver training. Over to you, James.
Thank you very much, Nick. That's really interesting, Dean. I really loved all those examples. We've been using the cages as part of the team for the stuff that we've been putting online. It's so useful. It's such a steady difference when you're using that compared to just your wobbly hand on the phone. So my part of the session is slightly different. So mine is all about if you wanted to run tutorials or some training such as this, so it's a bit meta because we're actually going to talk about what we're actually doing right now, or workshops, and how and what platforms will be useful for you through that. So I'm going to talk about the challenges of delivery if you're going to do it yourself. I'm going to explore some of the different platforms, and then we're going to look at what we recommend when it comes to the actual technical setup for you. Click the right button. Hang on, bear with me. There we go. So first, when you're providing any training or you're setting up any workshops, the promotion of your events is really important. So when, for example, for the stuff that we deliver as the Digital Culture Network, we try to give a good, at least a month's notice for people to sign up and register for anything that we're delivering. So it gives people time to make sure they've got time in their calendar, they can rearrange work commitments and things like that. So then they can actually attend any of the things that you're providing. So the first tip is to schedule well in advance. What that does, it helps you know the numbers that are going to be joining you, but it also allows you to capture detail. So we use Eventbrite. So when you signed up for this webinar, you filled out Eventbrite. We've got that data in our database now, so we can email you in the future if you've opted in. But we can also ask questions as part of that. So when we're capturing those attendee details, we can gauge what the expectation of the session is. So we asked in that sign-up process, what would you like to get out of this session? And that has informed the content that we've delivered. So we find that really useful for all the different webinars and training sessions that we run, is that we go, what would you like to know about this topic? And then we try and answer those questions in the training sessions that we provide. So it really helps shape the content, and anything that we're not going to cover in that, we can be explicit about it and provide it in further training or in further resources that we'll send you afterwards. When it comes to the challenges of delivery, and there are quite a few, but I'm just going to highlight some of our top ones that we come across as the Digital Culture Network and the organisations we speak to and what they're delivering. And the first one is the attendee live experience. So we're all in our different locations and we're delivering this into our computers, into the webcam, we're talking into it. We don't really know what your experience is as an attendee because you might be using your phone, a certain laptop, you might have a terrible connection, or you might not be able to hear the audio, but it's not our fault, it's the device or some other element of that. So you need to be aware of the different ways that people are going to interact with your content. So when you're shaping the stuff, so what we do with our presentation, so what we've got on screen right now, we try to keep the top right free, because we know that in Zoom, this little video of me actually appears in that corner. So that's the way that it appears in certain ways, and the way that we can shape the content that we have on here. So there's only so much we can support. So you need to accept that some people are not going to have the same experience, but most will have a great one, because these are tried and tested systems that we're using here. Secondly is accessibility. I've seen that there's a couple of questions in the chat around, in the Q&A facility around that already. We are going to provide a resource on the back of this, so we'll send that with the follow-up resources. But it's a big point, accessibility. most people that we find when they're watching videos, they don't, especially recorded videos, they have the sound off. You know, if they're using the device, they just reading the subtitles. So accessibility is really opens up the content for more people. So if you put those things in practice when you're delivering anything, or when you apply it to your recorded content, it really is important and beneficial. So yeah, read the resources we send after that, because it's a really important part. The third is gauging the understanding of a topic. At the moment, I'm talking into my computer. We've ran this session before, and we've kind of got feedback on it then, so we tweak the content. But in a live environment, we don't know whether you're understanding anything that I'm saying and the topic. So in the past, we've been in rooms and with a room full of people, and they're nodding away when you're speaking about certain things. In this, there's no immediate feedback unless I go into the chat and see if there's any messages in there. So it's very hard to gauge the understanding of the topic. So you need to structure it in a way and test it out in advance. So run it with people, so maybe family members, to see if they understand what you're talking about before you go ahead and deliver anything to a live audience who are maybe paying or have signed up for something. And lastly is the interaction elements and engagement. So we are all accessing this digitally, so it's a very, very different experience for all of us. So we've got the chat facility here. That's great for us to have a bit of engagement with you. So there are different things within the different platforms that we're going to look at that enable a bit more interactivity and a bit more engagement. But it definitely is a challenge when we think about online things. So for online platforms, there are loads of them out there, and we have stuff on the website about some of the different platforms that we recommend. I'm going to talk about three, because the stuff that we see in these three platforms are the common things that are in use when delivering anything like this online, and they're the ones that most organizations will have access or be able to use one or the other. I know as local authority, libraries, that you're restricted by an umbrella organization usually about what you can and can't use. So I'm going to go through the examples of these, but if you're using something completely different and you need help with, then get in touch with us, because we will help guide you through the system and whether you can get the most out of it as well. So first up is Zoom, which is what we're using now. So very meta, what we're talking about. We find this gives us a lot of the functionality that we need when we're delivering any sort of online training. And the reason for that is that it's got inbuilt video processing. So it does all the transcoding. I said that wrong. Transcoding. It does it all live in your computer. So it's when it's sending the data up into the internet. You're not having to have a separate software or hardware or anything like that to do that for you. So it's all managed within the actual platform itself, which is fantastic. And what we love about this is that we can do screen sharing. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm sharing my screen. I've got two screens here. I'm showing my screen with my presentation on, which means I can show, like PowerPoint presentations. I could do a live demo to guide you through a website. So if you wanted to do some online training for people using library services and how they can navigate the website, you could do that. So you'd literally be showing them the mouse through the different web pages, where to click, all these kind of things. And I saw that message in the chat earlier on about people that aren't comfortable about being live on screen. We could do this session like this. So I could have you're just hearing my voice. I'm talking through the different slides. You can still see my mouse interacting with stuff. So I don't have to be present when I'm actually delivering anything. There are different ways of doing it. As Dean said, having people and the trainer actually visible, it really helps that interaction. So you'll engage with me a bit more because you can see my face. What you could do is have just a picture of the trainer at the very beginning of the presentation that you're doing, or any of the training that you want to. So you're not live, but people can still interact with you. They know who they're listening to, and that is a very, very important. So with Zoom, we deliver it in various ways. As we say, we do screen shares for a lot of the stuff we have, but it's also got different functionalities, such as the interactive chat that you're using, the Q&A functionality. But you can also do things like polls, and there's a whiteboard functionality as well, where you can actually draw on screen, and the attendees can draw as well. So it's quite fun play elements of it. The whiteboard can get chaotic, so be careful with that one. There is a Google version of that, which has just popped out of my brain, but I'll remember it in a bit, which is very similar functionality as the whiteboard. But I recommend testing that out, because it is a lot of fun, and it can be really creative in that way. The other part of it is the breakout rooms. So I'll show you. I'm not going to show you anything, actually. I'll show you a little slide of that in a second. But what it's also got, as well as the screen sharing, you can share a certain part of your screen if you want to, and you could play videos or audio through your computer as well. But the third option we've got here is actually to share content from a second camera. And what I've got is another webcam attached to my computer. I'm just going to turn that on just to show you how that works. So I'm just pressing share for that now. Hurrah! Look at this. So you can see my hands, but you can still see me at the same time. So I'm here explaining what we're talking about. But if you're going to do a workshop on anything creative, hurrah, look at this. And can you guess what I'm going to do now? That's the question for you. Because there's a certain date coming up at the end of this month, which is really useful this time of year. Beautiful things. Now, Nick said, please don't chop your fingers off or get blood anywhere during this process. And I hope I won't. But the idea is that by using a second camera, you can bring the physical into the digital. And it's a really nice way of showing techniques if you were going to do something like this. So let's see if I haven't ruined this yet. Here we go. It's coming. Is it going to work? I did do a test run of this earlier on. Hurrah! Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. So we have a lovely snowflake. Thank you. So yeah, back in my main camera. There we go. So lovely snowflake. Put that on my wall. Absolutely gorgeous. So now I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to switch back to my screen. There we go, the option. So yeah, that's some of the functionality of Zoom, and that's all inbuilt. So there's no extra kit you need. Obviously, if you're going to do something like that, you can use another webcam, or you could use your phone as well. You can actually connect that into your computer and use that as a second camera, which is great. So it's all the kit you've probably already got. And the other part of it is the breakout rooms. Now, we can't actually show you this live at the moment, but it's fantastic, because what you can do, if you're going to have a little group or cohort of people that are attending your sessions, you can send a certain chunk of them into a private room on their own, and they can discuss different things. So I'd be interested in if anybody's using that functionality in the chat. Just make a mention of it and let us know how you are using breakout rooms and whether that's something that works for you as an organization. So away from Zoom, there's YouTube. Now, you'll see that the Digital Culture Network have a YouTube channel, and Dean loves YouTube. All his content, he's always watching that. He's all over YouTube all over the time. And what you can do is use YouTube to deliver online training as well. So if you didn't want to use Zoom, or you couldn't use Zoom, you can actually use the functionality within YouTube to do some of the stuff that we're talking about here. So if you go live on YouTube, it actually uses your webcam, and you can do some of the stuff that we're talking about. So you can explain things and go through different parts of it. What it doesn't do, as it is allow you to do all the screen sharing and the extra webcam stuff that we're talking about, which Zoom does. So the way around that, and it's stuff that we've done before and we find really useful, is that we use Zoom. So I would be using Zoom to do my delivery of the training. All of the video transcoding, I can't say that today, all happens within Zoom. But we stream it live from there into our YouTube channel. And that's how this screenshot of this works for the webinar that we ran before. So although I was using Zoom, none of the attendees were. They were all accessing it from YouTube. So what we find that works well for is because if it's a public training session that you don't need a private cohort for, it's fantastic because people are used to the interface. They usually have it installed on their devices already if it's an app. And it's instantly available as soon as the webinar or training finishes, so they can rewatch it instantly. So it's all handled in there, and it is fantastic, and we use that really successfully in the past. So that content can then be evergreen. So you've created a training session, but then people can access it forevermore. There's other ways of doing that. If you didn't want to do a live stream through to YouTube, you could, for example, what we're doing here, we're going to save the recording of this session and then upload it to YouTube, so you can do it afterwards. So there's ways around it. But we've got a resource around this. If you want to try it out, you want to set up Zoom to stream into a YouTube channel, we've got a resource for that. Excellent. But yeah, we found that really good, and I'd be interested to hear how some of you are using YouTube and whether your channels, are you doing any live things on it as well. And the third product we're looking at is Microsoft Teams. Now, as local authorities, you might be using Microsoft products. If it's Microsoft 365, the suite includes this, so there's no extra cost. It's an inbuilt into the products that you'll probably have. Now, in this screenshot, you'll see that there's a new functionality they've rolled out, but it's supposed to be a lecture theatre, and it looks really weird. But it automatically cuts people out and sticks them in this thing. But you know, they're because of how popular Zoom has been, Microsoft Teams want to be the #1 in that area. So they're investing heavily in this. We're seeing functionality roll out really quickly. We've seen huge changes over the last 12 months. But if you've got a private group of people that you want to bring together or external, you can bring them in as meetings within Zoom and then deliver the same kind of training as we're doing now. So it's still got all the same video functionality, all the same screen sharing elements and second camera and things like that. So it's all built in within Microsoft Teams. It's also got extra functionality as well, because it's not just about video. It's about collaboration and creating groups. And I recommend testing it out and having a try. If you go to the Microsoft Teams website, you'll find out a bit more about that as a platform and what it can and can't do. But we use it as a team because we can create topics that we have discussions around. So multiple people can talk about certain things and share files, and we can work remotely really easily by using all the functionality within that. So if you had a long-term cohort of people that you're working with, it might be nice for them to have like an online community that's still private just for them within your Teams account. So there's different ways of doing that. If you want to have a chat with us about how to make the most out of that functionality, then please do. We are here for you. The last part I want to talk about is the actual technical setup. And these are some of the things that we find really help when we're delivering anything. And the first one is having a stable internet connection. So if you can, get an Ethernet cable and plug it into your computer, and then plug the other end into your Wi-Fi router. And what that means is that if there's any problems with the actual Wi-Fi itself, because there's, you know, if you're in a place where there's multiple signals and a microwave's going off, all these kind of things, it can interrupt the signal. By having a hardwired connection, it really helps bring stability to that. What I do whenever I'm delivering anything, I go around the house and switch off anything that's not in use at the time. So there's no Netflix or anything like that happening when I'm doing a webinar, to make sure that all my bandwidth is used in the way it should be. And I recommend you do the same if you're going to deliver anything important where you were the primary person in it. Switch everything off, just have confidence in your internet connection. Secondly, is what Dean alluded to earlier on, which was, and showed examples, is the lapel mic. So I've got one here, you can probably just see it on my top here. But when I can face different ways and you can still hear me clearly because the microphone is not in the camera or, you know, your device. it's actually attached to me. So I could actually get up and move around a bit, because the lead on this is actually huge. It's really long. So I could be all the way over the other side of the room and still talking to you, and you'd be able to hear me at the same level as you do now. A second person is really, really important whenever you're delivering anything like this. If you can, have somebody there with you to support what you're doing, managing the chat like what Nick is doing now, or the Q&A functionality, and just to test things out with you. So between me, Nick and Dean, we were having a quick chat 15 minutes before this all started to make sure everything was working. So it's really useful to have that second person to help deliver anything. And especially if you were going to run any breakout rooms using functionality that Zoom has, you could, it's good to have somebody else in those rooms to facilitate them as well. So those extra people really, really help when you're delivering things. And because everything is online and in the cloud, we can all work remotely in that way. You don't have to be in the same room. Test everything in advance. Really, really important. Anything we run, we do a version of it the week before with our team. So we can test the connections, we can test the content that we're putting out. So it's really, really important to test things before you deliver anything live. Because if you've got an audience that are sitting there waiting, and you turn up and your computer starts updating, or your internet, something happens to your internet because you've not plugged it in properly, those have a massive impact on the user perception of what you're delivering. So test everything if you can in advance. And this one happened to me on my second webinar that I did earlier this year. Halfway through, I ran out of water and my throat dried up, and I had loads and loads of people listening to me, and I was speaking like this because I couldn't speak anymore. So I highly recommend having lots of water to hand, and I'm talking 3 glasses. You don't realize how dry your throat gets when you've been talking for ages. Next picture, and the last one that I have, is just my setup. So this is what I've got now. Now, you don't have to have this. You can have one computer with one webcam, and that's it, and an internet connection, and you can deliver anything that I've delivered or Dean's delivered. And there's different levels of what you want, what would be useful for you. We have some similar setups like this for each of us, because when we're presenting, it's really useful to have a second screen, and I'm presenting this screen, so what you can see is over here, but I'm talking directly into my camera. And all my notes are here, so anything that I need to speak about is all sat in front of me within the note functionality of PowerPoint. But as I say, you don't need all this, but we find it really useful to have that nice setup. And for this webinar that I ran, because it was really technical and I was going through lots of different points, I actually printed off and had all the different points on the wall behind me. So then I could make a note and go, oh, yes, I need to do that, right? That's my next step. And I could see ahead of what the content was going to be. And that post-it note says slow down on it, which is not on my wall now. So I apologize if I have gone too fast. Over to the Q&A.
Amazing. Thank you so much there, James. Lots of really useful hints and tips. And I think actually, most importantly, we've learned from our mistakes quite a lot. So we're quite, we're pleased to be able to share some of those mistakes and learnings over to you. We're so sorry for running slightly over. Thank you for everyone that's still with us. Loads of you still here, so thank you so much for sticking with us. We are going to have a really short Q&A now, and we've got a few questions in on the chat. So if I can just make sure that both James and Dean are here to answer any said questions that come in. So let me go to some of this. So we've had quite a lot of questions on copyright and rights, and when can we use stuff and like that. So we've had lots of people commenting on that, which has been fantastic. So thank you very much for that. If you're looking for some more detailed information about copyright and rights, the Space have lots of really interesting resources and useful resources in all about digital rights. So we'll make sure that that's included in the follow-up resources. But Dean, I wanted to just chat to you about music and what music you can use, and do you have to pay to be able to feature certain music and bits and bobs like that? Have you got any advice on that?
Yeah, certain social media networks nowadays have a blanket cover for most songs. However, you're kind of like falling into a bit of a lottery where your video may be muted. So in most cases, what I suggest is simply just going on something like Epidemic Sound or Audio Network, buying a license. There are free sort of like sites out there you can get royalty-free music that you can use, but sometimes you're a bit limited with choice, and you'll find yourself forever just searching for that elusive song. I found Audio Network is very, very good. Epidemic Sound is one of the ones that I've got a subscription for, and that subscription includes all of my videos that I've produced ever since I started, right away for in perpetuity forever. So I always find that they're the better ones when I need to find a certain type of song. So you could take the lottery chance, but then if your video is then muted, you then look silly. It's best to sort of have a belt and braces approach and get a proper subscription service. And they can be like £6 to £10 a month, or you can buy individual tracks for about £2.
Fantastic. That's great, Dean. We had a question come in beforehand about making GIFs and about how you can, because obviously for each different social media channel, the GIFs are kind of in different format. Rather than having to create individual ones for different channels, what's your recommendation for how you can you do that quickly and make sure you can share GIFs among multiple channels?
Yeah, I use Canva. Because there's lots of templates, so I can just literally throw most of it away and just put the DCN's color scheme. We can put that in, add a few images. The text already looks great. And then when you go to export it, you've got two choices: an MP4, which works on some platforms, and then like a GIF, which then works on say Twitter. So it's essentially you're creating it once, but you're choosing what you want to export, an MP4 or GIF. And then I just do both, hand them over to Hayden, and he then goes off and does his thing. So canva.com, yeah, and we'll do a link in our email follow-up. That's where I do most of my stuff, because I just haven't got the time or the energy to sort of do Photoshop and develop that and all that lot. So try and make it as simple as possible.
That's great. Thanks, Dean. We've got a really great question from Jordan, and I really suffer with this as well. So they've been doing lots of kind of like filming and pieces to camera, and they said it's going okay, but I find it takes a long time because I keep flubbing my lines, and this increases editing time. I totally suffer with this. I get all tongue-tied. And what I've been using, and I will include this in this, but there's like an auto cue app on your phone, and essentially yes, as you're sort of looking into the camera to sort of speak your script, you can upload that script and that can go on there. So that helps me. I don't know, James, are you any better at learning your lines, or any tips there that you can share?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, using those auto cue apps really helps. And yeah, we've done stuff in the past whenever it's recorded stuff, we fluff our lines, because you start going down a route and then you just forget, and then you ruin the whole thing, and it takes so many times by. Using those things really helps. But for live training, if you've got anything for that, just have bullet points, because make it more conversational about what you're doing. Don't have a script for a live training, anything you're delivering live training, because it sounds really automated. But be personal.
Yeah, I think that's really great. There's no, especially for live stuff, you don't want to appear too polished and too rehearsed, so it needs to be conversational. But obviously for edited stuff, you might need a bit of prompting. But yeah, the auto cue stuff is really fantastic. Loads of people have been saying stuff that they use, but we'll make sure we'll sort of include that. Dean, we've had a question come in before about content. What do you see working best, like a series of short clips that are really easily digestible, or kind of like longer pieces, or does that differ depending on subject matter? Is there anything you can sort of shed on that?
Yeah, I think if I was starting afresh now, I would probably test the waters with some small, short, digestible clips that kind of like whet the appetite, and then slowly introduce a longer piece, because it might be that it's so labor intensive to put together like a 10-minute long piece. If you don't get the result that you're looking for, or you've still got a bit of a learning curve, it can be quite disheartening. So if you do some maybe shorter pieces that are quite engaging, and then you can start seeing a bit of a trend, a bit of a pattern, and then just, it's like a bit like marathon running, I imagine. You get further and further until you kind of like get to the point where you know the audience are expecting a certain length of clip. So start off small and just sort of gradually get better and longer, and see how the audience responds to it.
That's fantastic. I'm aware of the time now. We've taken up a lot of your afternoon, but thank you so much for joining us today and sticking with us. We really hope that you've found lots of useful information there. As I've said before and throughout, we're going to be sending you a recording of this. We'll send you all the presentation and slides, and we'll send you all the resource links that we've mentioned throughout the session. Loads of people really interested in Dean's Amazon shopping list for equipment, so we'll make sure that we can provide you with lots of information on that. Thank you so much again for joining us. We'll be sending you a survey out in the next day or so. Please do let us know what you thought of today's session. We want to be putting on loads more for libraries, so please tell us what else you'd like to learn around digital skills, and we'll hopefully take all of that on board and be able to produce some more events for you next year. But for now, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers.
Thank you. See you.